In this episode, the structure is no longer just standing. It gets tested. By weather. By mistakes. And this is where a frame starts behaving like a building. Up to this point, everything could still move. Walls stood, but they didn't know each other yet. They were shapes, not a structure. This was the moment they had to start working together. I started with the side walls, not because they were next on the list, but because the structure needed to be tied together. Until now, the walls were only anchored to the floor. Strong, but still free to flex. This is where rigidity begins. You don't force crooked pieces into a straight structure. This wasn't the place to rush. These studs weren't just structure. Some of these studs would later define the window frame. Once they're fixed, their position is no longer a suggestion. At that point, there's no room for correction. The window changed everything. Openings don't forgive mistakes. They demand alignment, square angles, and patience. Every measurement mattered, not because it had to look good today, but because it has to work years from now. Only after the structure was tied together could I move to the front wall. This wall carries the most decisions. 3 windows, 1 main door. Nothing here could be fixed before everything was understood. So the studs were placed, but not locked. Close enough to see the shape, free enough to allow correction. Some things shouldn't be forced too early. By the end of the day, it finally started to show. Not a plan anymore, not lines on paper. It began to feel like a place. The lateral wall needed its final reinforcement. That meant working high, where plans stop helping. At that point, the structure holds you, and you learn to trust what you've built. Feet anchored, body leaning, one screw at a time. It wasn't elegant, but it was solid. I left when I saw the storm forming, I've learned that when rain crosses the valley, it doesn't come gently. The next day, the structure greeted me with water, everywhere. The floor had turned into a shallow pool, inside the rails, under the tarp, even dripping from the trailer. The membrane worked exactly as it was designed to, just not in my favor. The mistake was simple. No drainage points where the doors would be. A good lesson, learned early. Everything was wet. The floor, the steel, my gloves. The structure absorbed the day and kept going. Nothing failed. Nothing warped. It held. Work didn't stop. It just slowed down. Each roof beam was lifted by hand, positioned, adjusted, and held in place with a single screw. Not fixed yet, just guided. Water poured out of the steel as I raised it. Another day ended with the structure standing, still open, still exposed, but stronger. Before the large opening, I framed a smaller one. It was a rehearsal, a way to make sure the process was right before it really mattered. The large front window demanded precision. Double studs, insulation placed before everything was locked. Once these studs meet, there's no way back. Approval came quietly, from someone who lives close to the ground. Tight spaces, awkward angles. This is where structure becomes commitment. Almost there. The bathroom was different. Tighter spaces, less room to move. You try, you adjust, and you try again. If you're patient enough, trial and error works. At this scale, plans stop being enough. The last frames before panels. At that point, the structure was done. Not finished, but complete. This was the moment I stopped adding pieces. Everything important was already there. I was already thinking about what comes next. By the end of the day, the structure stood on its own. No longer fragile, no longer flexible, it was ready. What follows is what keeps everything inside.